Hey, what's up you guys? Bloody Jacob here to bring you another action movie QMR, quick movie reviews. And again, I do this so I don't feel like I have to do a video after every single movie I watch. Sometimes I like watching movies either in bulk or just sort of relaxing and enjoying a movie or two a day and not thinking about doing a video in between. And then I kind of group them into this and talk about them in one. A lot of times I like to put them together when it makes sense, if their stories are similar or something like that. Other times I put them into action groups like this, or if they're about one particular actor. This one I thought made sense, since it's of course a few different action stars here. We got Killer Elite starring Jason Statham as well as Robert De Niro and Clive Owen. We're also going to talk about Army of One or Joshua Tree with Dolph Lundgren. The one with the Hard Corpse with Jean-Claude Van Damme and Vicia Fox. And finally, Submerged with Steven Seagal. Yeah, we're gonna get into Killer Elite first. Just check this one out as I try to dive deeper into Jason Statham's catalog, like I've done, with a couple of the other action stars over the past few months. This is one I was looking forward to. The cast is really solid in this. I mean, you have again obviously Statham, who the more and more I see of, the more dynamic of an actor I see him as. Yeah, he's great and actually legitimate as hell with his physical talents. But I think he has more of a personality and more of a refinement slowly building to his acting than I think people give him credit for. And Killer Elite, of course, according to IMDb, is about when his mentor is taken captive by a disgraced Arab sheik. A killer for hire is forced into action. His mission: kill 3 members of Britain's elite Special Air Force service responsible for the death of his sons. And so yeah, this came out back in 2011. And of course Robert De Niro plays his mentor. And at first, there's going to be no spoilers in this video as much as I can anyway. If you guys for some reason still haven't seen this, even after me. But I was worried going into it that they'd have a big actor like Robert De Niro in it, and he wouldn't be in it much. Like, he would get killed within the first 10 minutes or so. Basically just paid money to die and have his name be on the cover. No, it wasn't like that. He is more involved in it than what something like that would have you perceive it as, which I enjoyed. Him and Statham share a good dynamic with each other. I think it could have used more time, but I think what they did do with it was fairly well done. Now, this isn't like sort of, I wouldn't even say this is a popcorn sort of movie. It tries to be at times more of a I don't know if I should say crime thriller, but it's a bit more of a grittier, sort of more intricate type of story that's trying to tell with that. It's pretty self-serious, and there's a lot of different sort of chess pieces moving here, which I appreciated. I'm actually trying to put together sort of a layered, or at least somewhat of a complex narrative, I guess. It's not like for example, Hobbs and Shaw kind of movie or anything, or even like one of his more straightforward action movies. Of course, there are some pretty hard-hitting action scenes throughout between him and Clive Owen in particular. Of course, what I think should be basically a famous chair escape scene from Statham. And before I forget about it, I also got to talk about Yvonne Strahovski. I forgot to mention her at the beginning of the video. I think she is an excellent actress. From things like Dexter to Chuck to The Handmaid's Tale these days, and a bunch of other stuff, of course. She plays the love interest to Statham, someone he's gotten close to before being pulled back into the life to help Robert De Niro. I could use more of them, but they share some really nice scenes in the movie. I like their chemistry, actually. And Clive Owen and Statham ended up developing, actually a more sort of, interesting dynamic than I thought it would be. It's not just basically two dangerous agents colliding or anything. It becomes a little bit more, and doesn't go a conventional way, which I appreciated. And there are some very, very good action scenes in it. I mean, there's one scene between him and Owen that is kind of a shaky cam sort of thing. It's their first confrontation, really, but they still do get some good shots in there. And I also thought the ending was pretty nice, and there's some music in it that I thought fit well, and gave you a good vibe going out of it. I thought it was sort of pulling me out of the movie. So yeah, I quite enjoyed Killer Elite, actually. It did take me a little bit to get into it. I will say I wasn't as engaged with it as I feel like I should have been. The story wasn't the most gripping to me. I feel like it did meander a little bit in spots. But overall, I think it's well made. Competently, structured. I've seen some people complaining about how the narrative was confusing. I don't think it was really confusing necessarily. I just think it wasn't, again, as attention-grabbing of a story as it maybe should have been. But yeah, so Killer Elite, still kind of making up my mind about it, but I think I could give it from anywhere from a 84% solid B, into like a 87%, somewhere in there. And next we're going to be talking about The Hard Corps, starring, of course, none other than Jean-Claude Van Damme, as well as Vivica Fox. And it came out back in 2006, and again, according to IMDb, it tells the story of an Army veteran who assembles a team of bodyguards to protect a former boxer. Complications arise when the boxer suspects his sister may be romantically involved with the bodyguard. So yeah, it's really a romantic chick flick. Not really. That's not even really the main point of the movie. His relationship with Vivica Fox is basically like a little subplot. They're basically like a, sort of background dynamic, really, and that's even how it's presented in the film. But yeah, The Hard Corps is one I found on DVD at a used CD DVD store, quite some time ago now. I got it for about $2, I remember. And I've always heard mixed things about it, from such a major lifelong Van Damme fan like my brother, to various other people in different action groups I'm a part of. But I gotta say, I didn't think Hard Corps was too bad. I think Van Damme actually gives a pretty good performance in it. This isn't a spoiler. It happens very near the beginning of the film, and it's part of the setup. Something happens to his partner that he served with, and so he takes on more responsibility to this job than he maybe would have before. So he got a bit of trauma tied in that with their experience together overseas, which I thought was pretty good. I think we could have used a little bit more of that, but they showed just the right amount of that part of it, I think, with the flashbacks. And this group that he's protecting, or excuse me, this guy that he's protecting, this boxer. I actually think he was played pretty well. The actor did a nice job. I thought he was fairly charismatic. Razi Kadati. I liked him. And everyone else is fine with Vivica Fox. I was expecting Fox to get involved physically, though, because she's known to be an action, sort of star herself. But she doesn't really get physical. She's more like a background sort of brains type player, which is fine. But I guess something that sticks out right away is that there are a lot of stereotypes in this movie. I don't know if you could say like racial stereotypes or something, but basically, yeah. And it gets a little heavy-handed sometimes, so it's a bit odd, a bit clunky at times with that. The fight scenes, though, I think they could use more. But what there is, it is sort of edited, clearly in spots, but I think there are some really nice angles and some good hard-hitting moments. There's this sort of sparring match which turns into more of a fight between Van Damme's character and Barclay, in his gym, that I thought was actually pretty good, and actually a pretty epic shot from Van Damme when they're both trying to strangle each other at the same time, and you see Barclay just look at Van Damme. Van Damme has like this stare, this ice cold stare of just raw determination and anger, and it was really cool actually. And like I said, Van Damme gave a pretty good performance in this movie. His character has a good presence, very aware. Van Damme does that so well in his 2000s onward movies. Sort of that world-weary type of demeanor about him. I feel like he does it just like that now. It's just part of his, one of his motions, you could say. But I still liked him here nonetheless, of course. And the more I think about it, the more solid I think Hard Corps is. Would it be in my top 5 Van Damme films? No. Top 10? No, probably not. But I actually think it's a good amount away from being one of my least favorites as well. And I like every Van Damme film to some extent. So yeah. If I had to rate this, I'm giving it a positive rating. I'm giving it a, 81, 82%, somewhere in there. B minus going to a B perhaps. So yeah, I guys thought about that one. And next up, we're going to be talking about Army of One, also known as Joshua Tree, starring Dolph Lundgren. It came out in 1993. And according to IMDb, tells the story of a framed prison escapee who unknowingly kidnaps a female cop en route to a rendezvous with a corrupt cop who put him behind bars. And yeah, this was one I was anticipating watching for quite a while, actually. One I had particularly heard about from my brother, as well as the Facebook group Action Elite. And I gotta say, it is a classic action movie. I really have no idea why you don't hear this film mentioned with some of the other big Dolph Lundgren movies out there. My brother went as far as to say that it's a movie that Schwarzenegger and Stallone wish they would have done. Yeah, probably. I could have seen either of them doing this as well. But Dolph Lundgren sort of has a way about him and a way of expression that I think makes it pretty solidified that should be in his filmography. You also have Kristen Alfonso in this as Rita. As basically eventual love interest, of course. I think my brother's probably favorite pairing in an action movie. And yes, she is sexy. I also think she gives a pretty good performance as well. She never came across flat. Dolph's character is more dynamic than some of his others as well. And he's good here. He's charismatic. You have, of course, the red sort of polo button shirt and his his car. It's feels like it could have been like a franchise or a 90s TV show in a way or something like that. But the premise actually turns out to be pretty fun, and the way it goes, the direction, I liked. My favorite part of it was when they're basically fleeing in the desert and it turns into like this almost road trip action movie. Almost like another version of like Chase with Charlie Sheen. Not really, which is a movie I should talk about sometime separately. But I just like the entertainment value that sort of setup possesses alone. Of course, it becomes a little more closed in near the end of the movie, but it also features a pretty violent and entertaining shootout scene in this warehouse that I quite liked a lot as well. And there's some good moments of physical action for Dolph too. The movie goes by very fast. Before I knew it, it was about 53 minutes in. So yeah, it's really good. It's worth buying. I got the Blu-ray DVD combo pack of it actually. It's definitely worth seeking out. I think that's only like about $15 on Amazon, and the DVD is about half that. Again, whichever you'd like, but treat yourself to the Blu-ray if you could. So yeah, if I had to rate Army of One, Joshua Tree, I'd give it, I think, about like an 87%, somewhere in there. It could drift into like 88%, making it a B+ or something. Not my absolute favorite Dolph Lundgren flick. I think I'd still have to give that to Showdown, and I still really do like Skin Trade. But I think this is definitely top 5 for sure. It's sort of going back and forth between that and like Bridge of Dragons for me for one of those other spots. But definitely one I think definitely deserves more attention from And finally, we're going to be talking about Submerged, starring Steven Seagal. Now, I have a bit of a history of this one. I mean, I've tried to watch it numerous times over the past year or more. It's been on Amazon Prime for a while. At first, I watched like 7 minutes of it, then I came back a little while later and I watched like another 10 minutes, and forever I left it at like 17 minutes in. I watched another 10 minutes of it the other day, and I finally watched it all. I finished it today. So that was my biggest accomplishment for the day. Yay me. And Steven Seagal, I don't really care for, his personal life and the way he conducts himself, the way he talks about other martial artists and stars. It's very despicable. And, he's very full of himself, very arrogant. I don't know. Granted, I haven't seen a lot of supposed classic Seagal flicks, but just knowing what I do about him, I don't feel the need to, or I don't feel like the excitement or rush to like I do with others. I even felt weird about watching this. I seen this Blu-ray set of his at a store recently, and I almost wanted to get it just so I could finally get those done, because there aren't really many of his big movies streaming for free anywhere. It's mostly just a lot of his 2000s flicks, like this one, Mercenary for Justice, and some others. But yeah, Submerged. Let's get into it. It came out in 2005, I believe. I didn't even have the page up for it yet. I'm on a roll. But yeah, it came out in 2005, and Seagal plays a guy named Cody. And Chris Cody, he's the world's best mercenary, freed from prison, but there's a catch. Cody must use his lethal weapons and fighting skills to stop a group of terrorists who have taken over a nuclear sub. And yeah, that's the thing. This movie is, by the way, Cody here, according to IMDb, is spelled with a K, so that's really cool. That's how they marketed this movie. It's called Submerged. Shows a submarine right on the cover. Obviously going for fans of his that really loved a movie like Under Siege, and trying to make them think, oh yeah, it's gonna be just like Under Siege. This is gonna be sweet. But then it's about like I wasn't counting. I could be off by a bit, but it's like 10-15 minutes in the middle of the movie where they're actually on the submarine. The main point of the movie isn't even on there. It's basically like a middle sort of exposition type of scenario, really, is what it comes down to, with this other mind control sort of sci-fi subplot they have going on that really isn't gone into that far. This movie also has a long history. It was originally conceived as like a creature feature monster horror action flick, I guess. It's going to take place completely on a submarine, and Seagal was originally going to play like a disgraced captain and everything. It was going to be like a combination of The Thing and some others like it of the genre, which actually sounds, kind of cool. But Seagal, he said he liked the script, but then when he got into the movie, he said he wanted to change a bunch of shit, and he would do that periodically almost every day, apparently, according to Hickox and some others that worked on it. And he would stay up very late at night. I'm reading this, by the way. He would stay up very late at night and do things like stay out with his buddies, late into the night, then not show up until 1 the next day, different things like that. And apparently spending a lot of time with I don't know if it's Brazilian or Bulgarian, that's right, prostitutes. So that's great. And then someone even got the impression that he didn't like making movies anymore. And basically sitting for the cash, which I think is obvious, when you even look at the quality of his direct-to-video films compared to guys like Van Damme and Lundgren, who actually make some very good, direct-to-DVD movies. Shockingly, some of Van Damme's I even like more than some of his bigger releases, and Lundgren has a bunch of solid ones too. So, Submerged and others for Seagal, not so much. I don't know, Vinnie Jones is in this as well. They try to have a decent dynamic between the two. It just doesn't really work. Seagal is very flat in this. He has a guy dubbed over him for a majority of it, and I guess it's because Seagal is very uncooperative and doesn't always come back to record like his ADR or whatever you want to call it, and also because he might be hard to understand. I don't know. And again, he was literally asked if that was the case with just wanting to make money and not caring about the movie anymore, and he basically just does his smile, is what I heard. I don't know, but when it is Seagal, when it is his voice, he's using this like weird, I don't know if it's supposed to be Cajun accent or whatever, but he's trying to sound like a gangster too or something. And he says, "Get your white ass over here," and you feel me. He tries to sound cool. He tries to use like lingo or something. I don't know what he's going for. It doesn't work or fits what character he's supposedly playing at all. On the action, it's so, I don't know. Vinnie Jones gets into it more than Seagal does. Seagal has a couple brief sort of physical confrontations that are pretty choppy in terms of editing. He has a decent kill in the beginning, and he does something with a tank, I guess, at one point in a tunnel. And I will say the ending got a tad more entertaining because he basically takes a shotgun with infinite ammo and shoots up a place. It was kind of cool, I guess. I'll admit it's probably the best part of the movie. But the rest of it, it's very just there, and the main climax is on opera, so there's that. And things just start happening. Guys randomly get shot, and I don't know. And you also have someone like Christine Adams in this. So I've seen in a couple shows and some other movies. She's actually a competent actress, but here she's wasted, along with Gary Daniels, who my brother tells me I gotta see more of. I believe him, but he's wasted here as well. And basically the rest of it is either eye candy or just cast. I don't know. It's just very flat. It's very there. Yet it was weirdly sort of addictive when you would see Seagal on screen. I have no idea why. Could be a guilty pleasure sort of thing. Could be something else. But yeah. So Submerged. I don't know. I gave it a 6 out of 10 on IMDb. I feel like that's being generous. But I was even thinking about like a 72%. I think that's being generous. So I'm giving it basically like a D, or 6 out of 10, 67, 65%, 69%, I don't know, somewhere in there. Not very good at all. But oddly enough, maybe not the worst action movie I've ever seen. And that's scary. But yeah, let me know what you guys thought about this. Is there any 2000 Seagal movie that's worth watching? Let me know. I might watch Mercenary for Justice for some reason soon. We'll see. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.